We are live with Fridays with Sue and Steph. And today's a big day because actually our very first guest, expert guest, we've had siblings on here and an occasional friend, but our very first expert guest is Dr. Patrick Porter. Thanks for being here with us.
Great to be here. Thank you.
And we have the live, but people are starting to come on. Okay, so this week is Sleep Awareness Week. And we decided that with the amount of problems, at least Stephanie and I, but I think more than the two of us have been having with sleep, that it was a brilliant opportunity to have our guest expert, Dr. Patrick Porter. He is a neuroscience expert and the founder of BrainTap, the leader in enhanced meditation. So I'm going to start with, I was on a Zoom call this morning and I said, do I dare get on this call looking the way I look? What can I do to make myself look like I'm awake? And the person said, well, good thing you're talking to a doctor about sleep. So I had a crap night of sleep. I can't figure out how to make my eyes look open. And we have you here today to help us and have us help ourselves and have the tools to help our teenagers. So the first question is, why does it feel like this is a new phenomenon with like such a deprivation of sleep, even though I will put out there, it is not for lack of desire.
Right. I mean, what's happening now is our brain has a lot of uncertainties because of what happened in 2020. So think about it like you're in a relationship for 20 years and then you break up. How long does it take for you to get comfortable going out dating again? Now that's what's happening to our life. We don't know what's happening in our life because there's a lot of uncertainty. Our brain loves certainty. And so there are tips, of course, to waking up your brain in the morning. The biggest one is to exercise. But when what's happening with your puffiness, just so everybody knows, is we have glial lymphoma.
Oh, did I say puffy? I have puffiness.
We couldn't get your eyes to open, whatever. So what happens here is we have what they call glial lymphomic vessels in the brain. And if we don't reach deep level 4 sleep, they don't drain. So it shows up actually in our face because we see it because we're not getting that flow. The lymphatic system is so important. And that's why breathing, breath work, you've probably heard of that before. People doing breathing exercises, yoga kind of things, or dancing. Those are all things to move the lymphatic system because it doesn't have a heart. Like a heart pumps our blood around, but it has to be either bouncing. That's why sitting is the new smoking. We need to be standing up, moving, so we get our lymphatic system going.
That's a good line, Patrick.
Wow. That's so overwhelming, that idea. I would never smoke.
Right. That's why, like, I'm standing now, I can take this desk and move it down. So part of the time I can sit, part of the day I can stand, get my body moving. That's to do that. When you sit all day, the body doesn't know when you go to sleep. There's a lot of confusion there. It used to be, we'd get up as kids, we'd run all day and do it. Now, what are we doing? Because we were quarantined, we were inside looking at screens and not moving, not exercising. So morning is so important for sleep schedule that people have a sleep ritual and they have a sleep hygiene schedule. And those that keep those two sleep the best.
So when you say exercise, do you mean like it's best for us to exercise in the morning when we get up?
Yeah, check this out. Studies have shown that when you exercise for 15 minutes in the morning, it's equivalent to 45 minutes in the evening. So if you want to biohack your exercise.
Who's got to get off the call now, Patrick?
Right?
No, you know why? Because, Stephanie and I both, what we love most is efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
So the reason for that is all night long, your body has been balancing out. We can only have 1 tablespoon of sugar in your bloodstream at any one time. And all of your muscles are now full of sugar to be used. So now you can tap into that trapped sugar and not rob from Peter to Paul, because what happens when you get up in the evening and start exercising, your muscles are already depleted with sugar. So now what happens is you start having to produce sugar and it overworks the pancreas. So the upside of exercise, but exercise in any form is better than no exercise. So, if that's the only time you can do it, then do it then. But if you want to really be efficient, morning is the best. And,
Okay, I'm just going to say, and then I'll hand it to Steph. Sorry, Steph, but you are the first person to give us that piece of advice in all of the years of talking to sleep experts. So, oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, that is awesome. And so your comment about the desk, my husband has the same one where like even yesterday I was on the phone with him at some point during the day. I'm like, are you standing up? He's like, oh yeah, I have my desk pulled up, and they got them for everybody in the office. And so they, have that flexibility if you want to be down or up. Are you suggesting that even just standing is significantly better than sitting? Like even if I were just standing at my desk all day?
Because our brain gets exercised when we're standing because we have to keep our balance, our vestibular system.
Wow.
One thing about our brain, some would argue that 75% of our brain's function is just to keep us upright. So we're exercising it. And if we're sitting, we're sending the wrong signals. And plus, people that have back problems like pain in the back because they're using their computer, it's when you're standing, you don't get those same you don't get that same problem across your spine. And, because this repetitive movement is what's causing the pain. But when you stand up, you're changing that up a little bit, getting the blood to flow to different areas and keeping your body limber and relaxed.
Okay.
So, wait, can I ask one more follow-up, Sue? So this is so interesting because I'm thinking about just our teens, and let's talk about, it's our teens pre-pandemic and it's our teens certainly in the pandemic. They are slouchier and in beds, etc. So even the model when we were in school and they're just sitting all day, not good for our brains.
Right.
Correct, or their brain.
It used to be that, you would get up, change rooms, with the school I went to, that's what we did every hour. You get up, you change your rooms, you go somewhere else, you'd have recess, you'd have lunchtime. They're taking all of the movement out of schools, unfortunately. So you've got to fit that in yourself. The key thing is that our body wants to have that stress experience and then the relaxation experience. If we don't get both, then the body, that's how we regulate our heart rate and our coherency. And, when our body gets patterned. So if we're sitting all day, that's the normal. That's what our body thinks is normal. And then it doesn't function as well. In fact, it can even hurt. I know your teens might not be interested in, but the adults listening would. It also can inhibit your digestion, your elimination process. So for, one of the things as we get better looking and more intelligent with age, we're more concerned with our bowel movements. So that's a really good one.
Okay, so I want to go back to sleep, and I want to start with the fact that we have been told over and over again that so much of our health, mental and physical, is reliant on sleep. Like, in fact, the suicide hotlines, one of the first questions they ask, I think the first question they ask is, how much did you sleep last night? And so that's looming over us with this stress of the importance of sleep. And yet we can't get a good night's sleep. So give us your top 3 tips. We got one of them. Give us 3 more for what we can change right now to make a difference in our sleep.
Okay. So the biggest thing you can do is prepare for sleep. Go around the house, turning off lights, calming down, eliminate TV or screens if you can for the last hour before sleep. Read a book or use your night vision on the tablet to read something. Settle down, calm down. That's number 1. Number 2, discontinuing all eating at least 2 hours before sleep. If you want to sleep well, 4 hours. In fact, it used to be mom would say, go to sleep hungry. Well, that's good. And I'm going to encourage people to just try this for yourself. Go to sleep hungry a couple nights. Watch how much energy you have in the morning. You'll have so much, because the energy doesn't all come from the food. It comes from the breathing, and our body is designed to take in energy. So that means dark room, because every cell of your body has something called chromophores. These are like battery cells in a photovoltaic absorption system, like for solar panels. But we are solar panels. So even if we have one little light on in the room, that could be enough to throw off our circadian rhythm and not get us into deep sleep. And the key, Sue, for deep sleep and why what's happening to you is that deep delta sleep is necessary, because that's the only time we detox our brain. So when we're younger, we can get away with it. We can get away with not getting enough sleep. We can push the barriers. Everybody that went to college knows you can live on coffee grounds, if you need to. But the reality is, as we get older, that doesn't work anymore. And sleep actually is the main way we process and produce those neurotransmitters. So it's not the studies show that if you miss sleeping well 3 nights in a row, it's as if you drank 3 to 4 beers and you're walking around through the day. Your reaction time, all of those things you're thinking. So sleep is very key, but the main reason is that's when we condition our body going through the different brain waves and producing these neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine, dopamine, all of those things. They're all made while we sleep, because our brain tells our gut to do that. So, but if our gut is digesting food, guess what? It can't make the neurotransmitters. So it has to wait for the digestion to be done, then produce those. So if you want really deep sleep, go to sleep a little hungry.
Is it possible? So I will often hear people say, well, he doesn't need a lot of sleep, about themselves, about a kid, about, right? Like, oh, he's the kind, he can go, 4 hours and he's good. Oh no, she needs 7.5. Like, can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, you'll see. Actually, on my Instagram, you'll see I had a 94 sleep score last night with 89% recovery, and I usually get about 7 hours sleep. So everybody does have their own sleep cycle, but what's most important is you need at least an hour of deep sleep. It's not about the length of time. An hour of deep sleep split up, because we're going through these cycles when we sleep. That's why you might wake up and you hear a loud noise, because you're in an up cycle. You would not even wake up or move if it was a down cycle. It's like trying to wake up somebody when they pass out on the couch and, they're like dead to the world. That's because they're in that deep paralytic sleep, which is what we need. We need an hour of that. We need 2 hours of REM sleep. Other than that, whatever you need. The military actually says we only need 4 hours sleep, because they tested under battlefield conditions, but not for prolonged. Most people need between 7 and 8 hours of sleep is usually pretty good. But 100 years ago, guess what, Stephanie? The average person got 12 hours sleep. So we're very different today. Now the average person gets less than 6, and 2/3 of America is struggling with their sleep. I mean, there's something going on here that, and it's all about, when you think about our homes, we're digitally connected, which is great. We have 24-hour access to entertainment. When I was younger, you might had it in your town as well, but one of the rites of passages as a child was to watch the Star Spangled Banner and the station going off.
Yeah.
Going off the air. Now there is no station going off the air. We have hundreds of stations to choose from 24 hours a day.
We should bring that back, Patrick. Yes. That's actually a fantastic idea.
Yeah. So, when that happens, so I think that, and people can just go on the internet, right? They can go serve up there, like watching this. They could watch this any time of the day, right? They can go to your Facebook page. They can click on it. They can watch it. We have so much information, and part of it is we need to downshift. We need to learn how to get out of that, what we call the reactionary mind, which is our fast mind, that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and learn to shift those gears, downshift, so we can get into those slow-moving brain waves like the alpha, theta, and delta, so we can get that recharge that we really want. And if you do it during the day too, we found that if you do something like a mindfulness training in the middle of the day, that'll have a big effect on your sleep too, because your body builds up energy all day long. We all have a breaking point, right? You might, I have a sister-in-law that always says we're on her last good nerve. And I said, I hope not. There's only one. But what she means is her body she's so full of energy, she doesn't know what to do. And the next thing, boom. And I think, unfortunately, our society's in that state right now. It's like every little thing. Nobody can just say something. It's always turns into this big blowout, because everything's like a powder keg. And we need to all just take a step back. Breathing exercises are one way to do it. Of course, we use Brain Tap with it and teach people how to do the breathing exercises. But as you do that, what will happen is you'll learn to mitigate or regulate your nervous system. And the people that we scan best, you might be interested in the kids that are watching might be, but dancing is one way to regulate your nervous system. People that are professional dancers always prove out to be the best. Yoga instructors tend to be really well, and also martial artists. Because they're moving and breathing. Think of our bodies as moving and breathing. If we can get our bodies moving and breathing during the day, then we'll sleep deep at night.
Okay, so I have this thing, which is I have this window. So I knew last night was going to be a bad night's sleep because I was dozing, like I was in bed falling asleep before my husband came in, and when he came in, I woke up, and I was like, "Oh, there, it's done." So can you recover from that?
Yes, you can. There's a few ways you can do that. One, you could download our app and use it for free for 15 days and fix it. Or you can.
What's the link? What's the link for the app?
If you go to braintap.pro, you'll see that for 99 cents, you get a copy of my book, and you can get 30 days on the app. And then you can decide for $1 if you want to go on and do anything else. But what you can do without doing that, if you choose to, you can do both. Or when you're laying in bed, when you breathe in, you're actually triggering that sympathetic system. That's your fight or flight. We call it the survivor brain. What happened when your husband got in bed is your alert went off. Because we're always in training to what's around us. So he's coming in, he's not asleep yet. You're asleep. There's a mismatch. your body is literally in tune with him in a way that, for you, obviously, there's going to be some entanglement because you're married. That he can have a certain look that throws you off. I could give you the same look and it wouldn't even bother you. There's that, because these anchors we have in our brain, right? So what happens though when we breathe out is we shift gears and we get into that parasympathetic, what I call the thriving brain. So next time, Sue, when you're in bed and that happens, know he's coming in, but breathe into the mental count of 4, breathe out to the mental count of 8, and connect that breath. What will happen is, number one, it's going to shut off that monkey mind that we all have. That's normal. Just let it play out. All that everything that's going on. Eventually, what will happen is, as you breathe out, you're tuning your body to turn on that thriving brain. And pretty soon, and then if you do that while you're doing that, scan your body, find out where you're holding onto that tension. And just by putting your awareness there, some magic happens. Blood flows to that area, circulation increases, and relaxation follows. So if you do that, and you don't have to be good at it, I tell people all the time, anything worth doing well is worth doing terrible at first. So just practice it, figure out how to do it. And what will happen eventually is, if you wake up in the middle of the night because you're a light sleeper, which means you pop up into beta during sleep. Most people, the third that are getting really good sleep, they don't have as much beta brainwave activity. So they stay in that deep state. There are some people, like I grew up with 9 kids in my family. So the joke was the porters could sleep standing up, because we usually did, because there's so many kids, but it just depends on your training. Our house was never quiet. So I didn't have the opportunity. Now my wife, she grew up with 8 kids in her family, but her family was more regulated. They were more trained than our family. We were a good Irish Catholic family. So there was always craziness going on. And she was also, but her family was so relaxed. They had rituals at night that they did. Our family was like, it's a free for all. You could find us falling asleep in the front room on a school night or in a couch or in our bed. I think my mother just said, you know what, I'm over this. You guys regulate yourself. And we all turned out pretty good, but it was like, we didn't have that sleep hygiene. We just learned how to sleep that way.
And I like when you're referring to rituals, and especially if I think about our kids and, they, on the weekends, they're up late and they've got to be up for school early in the morning. And so it's very hard to capture that ritual, and in COVID too. I don't think that's any different. They have to be online at a certain time. Is it, if I think about our kids, certainly as parents, anything we suggest is kind of stupid, right? Yeah. How do we get them to buy into, okay, well, maybe they can't have the ritual, but what about the breathing techniques? Or what about, what do you find is what are the things they can buy into at their age?
Well, I think that the number one is get them to experience it. I love to show them, when I'm able to do this, to show them their brain after they use their computers or their phones. Mm-hmm. You would not be using your phones or your computers as much to play games if you saw what it does to the brain. Like these single shooter games and things like that, it's so stressful because your brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. But if you teach them a few of these techniques, what we find is that the kids they want to relax. They want to sleep too. They're not able to turn off their brains. So the breathing technique is one of them, but there's another breathing technique they can switch up with it. There's something called neuroplasticity, which basically means change in the brain. So you want to change up these breathing exercises. The other one is a box breathing, where you breathe into the
I do that one.
Yeah. So you hold it, then you breathe out. So that's a good one. That box breathing is a good one too, but it gives their conscious mind something to do. And then they could put on music in the background. This is something there's something called the Mozart effect. In science, they show that just by playing classical Baroque music or like new age music that doesn't have drums, that's kind of relaxing, you put it on and some people will actually fall asleep to it. But if like, while they're preparing for bed, if that was playing in the room, they would just start to calm down. Our brain, remember, is in training with its environment all the time. So when it hears that music, they know that our brains work better. It's going to help them shift that gear. Now, if they're listening to hard rock, that's when they're cleaning their room, they can listen to that, or whatever music they're listening to. But when they're sleeping, we should set the mood. We live in such a time now. Imagine back in the 1500s, you had to be royalty to have someone come into your bedroom and play a quartet for you. Now we can have that ourselves. We have the technology to do that. So I think finding out some music that can do it, and also teaching them to do that while they study, that's the way to get them, because they'll find out they're smarter than they think. They'll start remembering things for tests. And
background music you're suggesting?
background music, if they
Really?
broke. Now, if they're playing hard rock or those, they're never going to remember. That's going to scramble their brains. I mean, when you see what that does to the brain waves, you just wouldn't. That's for doing workouts, like when you're doing physical workouts, because it's in high energy. When you're learning, you need to be calm and relaxed. We all learn better when we're having fun and in a relaxed state.
Can we find some of that brain information on your website?
Yes, and when that book Thrive and Overdrive has it in there as well.
Okay, so
a lot of the brain information. I have another book called Awaken the Genius, which is a book all about accelerated learning. That's the whole format.
Okay, so I'm going to share that here. And what's your website?
It's braintap.pro.
Oh, I put that up there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where all the information is.
If they just put in hashtag BrainTap, they'll see it, or they can look up drpatrickporter.com. That's my personal website. But
okay,
the company is BrainTap. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Patrick Porter, thank you so much for being our guest today. And this was really fantastic information. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Well, thanks for having me. We'll look forward to talking soon.
Bye-bye.